Welcome back to the ARCA Zoom cast. Welcome back. That is of course Charlie Crawl, the ARCA PR director. I'm Casey Campbell. That was a pretty good race. In the ARCA Menard Series East. Yes, someone led every lap, but there were pretty good opportunities that Fenhouse almost got to him though. Of course, I'm talking about Williams Sawalich.
Right. So it was a pretty good race, Casey. It was a little thin on cars. We had a couple of drivers that were forced to withdraw right there at the very last minute. But I'll tell you, for a race to only have one caution flag and 196 green flag laps, William really did not run away with that. He was about a second ahead, most of the night, but I think there were some drivers who were, kind of saving tires and, trying to maybe plan a little late race run up towards the front. And it was pretty darn good show, all things considered. William did lead every lap and, is the first driver in the series history to do that, which is very, very impressive in his series debut. So, we'll put that one in the bank and we'll move on to the next one. We've got ARCA West coming up this Saturday night at Irwindale, and then we'll start looking ahead to Talladega and Kern County and Dover, and really get our season rocking and rolling.
Yeah, of course. Irwindale's coming up. Then you guys have a little bit of a break, and then you guys are really, really going once you get to Talladega because it's because I think we're racing just about every single week with ARCA. So.
Well, that's what we do. We've got 35 races across the platform this year, so we'll be pretty busy, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good season, and the West season I think is shaping up really, really nicely. I think we've got 17 cars on the preliminary entry list there for Irwindale, which pretty solid, all things considered. And always a good night whenever we're out there at Irwindale, one of the great short tracks in the country. And Tim Huddleston and his whole team out there do a really, really nice job. And I'm the lucky guy who gets to call it on Saturday night, so we're looking forward to that too.
Of course, to be at 10 p.m. on Flow Race, 10 p.m. Eastern on Flow Racing. Of course.
Yeah, 10 Western would be tough. I'd probably be asleep at that point.
Yeah, 7 p.m. That'll be of course 7 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, that's right.
For all our friends out in California. Before we get to ARCA West talk, let's talk about this big thing. There's a big, little bit of a documentary going on tomorrow with you guys, with the Venturinis. So I don't know how much you know about that, but overall, what's that? If you know, what's that going to be about?
So we're going to kind of chronicle and let everybody know some pretty cool stuff that I was a first person, spectator to a lot of this back in the early 1980s when I would go to ARCA races up at Flat Rock and here in Toledo. And, I saw the Ultra Blue Crew in person. Kathy Venturini, who now is one of the team owners at Venturini Motorsports. She was a crew chief for her husband, Bill, and they won a lot of races together. And this, certainly Bill Venturini, no one's ever going to say that he didn't take advantage of certain marketing and sponsorship opportunities. But this team of female pit crew members was no gimmick by any stretch of the imagination. These girls went over the wall. They competed with the men, and they beat them very, very often. These were female athletes in every sense of the word, and they competed at a very high level and won 2 championships, 1987 and 1981. So I'm looking forward to seeing what our friends at NASCAR Digital Media and NASCAR Productions have put together. And yeah, should be a pretty interesting show.
Yeah, it should be. Of course, that will be on the ARCA social platforms, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
All right. Let's get to the ARCA West race at Irwindale. First standalone West race of the season. Of course, as we said, you'll be on the call for that one. So kind of talk about just overall what we had. Technically, the first West race of the season was at Phoenix in combination with the main series.
I think the West teams would say technically that was the second ARCA Menard Series race of the year. The West teams mopped up out there at Phoenix, didn't they?
They did. It's the first ARCA Menard Series West race, the standalone race of the season at Irwindale, though. But we saw a pretty good one. We saw all those West cars up there at Phoenix, and I think it's a total of, this is going to be a pretty interesting. If you think the the East Championship might be interesting. This West Championship might just be as interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a great start to the standalone season, as you said, Casey. There's numerous good quality cars out there, and I'll tell you what, I'm really just pleasantly surprised that Tyler Reif performed as well as he did there at Phoenix. I don't want to make it seem like it was this big shocking thing, because I'll tell you, Tyler and his team are going to tell me, well, we figured we were going to come and do that all along. You don't want to give him too much of a backhanded compliment there, but I was very pleasantly surprised. He was a couple of laps down at one point and got those laps back and worked his way up through the field and really surprised a bunch of people. And I think he's going to, try to pick up right where he left off. The one guy he's going to have to contend with is his older brother. Tanner was really strong there at Irwindale last year in the Sunrise Racing car, and now of course sliding over into the Bill McAnally Racing number 16 car, and that car has traditionally been really solid out of Irwindale too. Don't forget, Jesse Love had racked up some wins there, and I know Todd Gilliland has won some races out there. The list goes on and on and on of Bill McAnally drivers who have had really good runs there at Irwindale. So I think it's going to be the Reif brothers kind of battling it up near the front, but don't overlook the rest of that field, Casey. It's going to be pretty stout.
Of course, you got Sean Hingrani as well. He'll be running all three. Obviously Venturini Motorsports running all three championships, like we mentioned last week.
Yeah.
But it's kind of strange to see. I can't remember a time where, I know we've had sibling rivalries before in there, but I can't think of a time where both brothers are going for, the same championship in a way. How cool is that to see?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the Reif kids are, and I can call them a kid because I'm an old man, but the Reif boys are, they're a lot of fun to watch, and they've to see, Tanner where he is now versus where he was a year ago, just as a human being. I was really impressed with how he has grown and developed here in the last year, and was really happy to spend some time with him, and not only him, but him and his brother and his parents there in Phoenix. And that's what a lot of people, we lose track of that, Casey, is they're 18-year-old kids. A year is a big gap of time in an 18-year-old's life. And I'm really impressed with Tanner as a young man, and we already impressed us as a driver last year with a couple of wins and finishing second in the championship. So it's really cool to see these two go at it, and we'll have to wait and see how it comes along here.
Yeah, of course you got Trevor Huddleston too, and obviously that team kind of inherited what the Sunrise team was last year after Bob Bricati retired after the 2022 season. But what's it going to be like to see him out there, and how do you think he'll do?
Well, Trevor Huddleston, of course, his dad is the promoter there at Irwindale, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself whenever we race there. So I think they're going to want to come out of the box and have a pretty good solid run. And knowing Tim the way that we do here, I have a feeling it's going to be a spectacular show to begin with on Saturday night. And if Trevor ends up at Victory Lane, I can only imagine how excited Tim will be to join him down on Victory Lane.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting. And then Sean Hingrani getting this opportunity with Venturini Motorsports, running the East and West, as well as Tyler Reif. First West race of the year. This is kind of the tracks he's kind of known for out there. But overall, what do we think out of Venturini Motorsports this weekend?
Well, I think you can never overlook Venturini Motorsports, man, and they're 80 plus wins, in the ARCA Menard series, and they've built that reputation, by doing just that, by winning races. So I know that Billy is a competitor, man. He's not going out west just to run laps. Venturini Motorsports goes out there to win races, and I think it's going to take a little time to get Sean acclimated with the team and get him acclimated to these big, heavy race cars. But they've been really pleased with this progress to this point, and do not overlook him. I mean, anytime those Venturiti cars are entered, they could get up there and compete for a win. And you know, it might be a surprise to some, but it wouldn't be totally shocking to me if Sean Hingorani were to end up at Victory Lane on Saturday night.
I don't think anyone would be shocked if Venturiti Motorsports would ending up in Victory Lane. That's kind of accustomed to doing their, or as they like to say, fly the V or something.
Fly the V, baby.
And finally, Bradley Erickson is somebody that I think that really impressed at Phoenix. That's someone that's going to run the full West schedule. What's that like to have him in the series?
Well, I mean, Mike Nake's been around for a long time, and he and Joey East teamed up to have a pretty successful run here the past couple of years. Of course, Joey picked up a win at Colorado National a couple of years back, and he was a pretty constant, member of the top 5, top 10 throughout his tenure in that car. And Bradley really did a nice job there at Phoenix. Stayed out of trouble all night long. It looked really, really racy there at the end. He didn't give William Sawalich any ground on those final restarts, and of course, I think William was expecting some, and Bradley didn't give it up. And he powered his way to a pretty impressive top 3 finish out there. So we'll see how he does on the short tracks. I think he's got a lot of short track experience. Coming through that development program out west. So we'll see how he does, but I think he's going to be right there with the other guys that we saw up near the front of Phoenix.
All right. Well, Charlie, that's going to do it for this week's show. We'll talk to you we're going to talk to you in a few weeks. So it's going to be a while before you come back on here, unless something crazy happens.
You got it, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, Casey. Thanks.
All right.